In a bustling city where shadows linger and secrets thrive, the question that haunted Leela Monroe was a fierce whisper in her heart. What happens when the person you despise becomes the key to your redemption? The city around her vibrated with life, yet it felt like a prison, each siren and shout echoing the turmoil she felt within. With towering skyscrapers casting long shadows over cracked sidewalks, Leela moved through the urban landscape as if in a dream, the scenery and ironic backdrop to her reality, a mix of opulence and decay encapsulating her internal struggle. Leela was fiercely independent, her spirit shaped by the trials she had faced. Today, she stood at the edge of a bustling cafe on the corner of 5th and Main, the steam from her coffee swirling like the thoughts in her mind. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the scent of rain-soaked asphalt outside, providing a momentary comfort as she took a deep breath. She had fought hard to reclaim her life after the traumatic event that shattered her past, a night that replayed relentlessly in her mind like a haunting melody. The scars it left were not just physical, they were emotional wounds that ran deep, wrapped in layers of anger, betrayal, and, oddly enough, a flicker of longing. As she stood there, the crowd moved around her in a blur, each person a reminder of the life she once had, the life that was ripped away by Marco Santoro, the notorious Mafia boss whose very name sent shivers down her spine. He was not just a criminal, he was a scar on her heart, a man whose past actions had left traces of pain that Leela struggled to erase. Their paths had crossed in a way that was both tragic and inevitable, intertwining their fates like a dark thread woven through a tapestry of chaos and desire. The initial conflict loomed heavy in her mind. Leela had spent years trying to escape the shadow of Marco, yet here she was, standing on the precipice of confrontation. Her heart raced as she felt the pull of unresolved feelings. She needed closure, a chance to confront the man who had taken so much from her. The thought terrified her, yet the idea of remaining in limbo was even more unbearable. She was caught in a web of emotions, oscillating between hatred and an inexplicable attraction that she couldn't quite understand. With determination coursing through her veins, Leela stepped away from the cafe, the door jingling softly behind her as she ventured into the chaotic streets. She felt the pulse of the city beneath her feet, a reminder of the life that continued to move forward, even as her own felt stagnant. It was time to confront her past, and she knew that meant facing Marco. The thought sent a shiver down her spine, but she pushed it aside. She had come too far to turn back now. As days turned into weeks, Leela found herself drawn deeper into the underbelly of the city, where the neon lights flickered like false promises and danger lurked around every corner. She began to unravel the complex web that tied her to Marco. He was not merely a villain in her story, he was a man with a past that was as tangled as her own. As she delved deeper, she learned about the choices he had made, the sacrifices he had endured, and the regrets that haunted him like ghosts in the night. With each revelation, Leela's feelings became more complicated. Marco was a puzzle she had once been determined to solve, but now she found herself questioning everything she thought she knew. He had been painted as a monster in her mind, yet glimpses of humanity peeked through the cracks of his hardened exterior. She discovered that his life was riddled with loss and betrayal, a stark reflection of her own struggles. Leela began to see the man behind the title, the ruthless Mafia boss, and her resolve to confront him was intertwined with a yearning for understanding. One fateful evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange hue over the city, Leela found herself outside a dimly lit bar that Marco frequented. The air was thick with tension as she stood on the sidewalk, her heart pounding in her chest. This was it, the moment she had both anticipated and dreaded. She took a deep breath, pushing through the door, the sound of music and laughter greeting her like an unwelcome reminder of the life she had lost. Inside, the atmosphere was charged with energy, a stark contrast to the heaviness in her heart. Lila scanned the room, her gaze landing on Marco, who sat at the bar, a glass of whiskey in hand, surrounded by a group of men whose laughter echoed off the walls. He looked different than she remembered, more rugged, more vulnerable, as if the weight of his choices had finally begun to show. She felt a pull towards him, an inexplicable connection that ignited her senses. Gathering her courage, Lila approached him, her footsteps echoing in the cacophony of noise. As she drew closer, Marco's laughter faltered, and he turned to face her. The moment their eyes met, time seemed to freeze. There was a flicker of recognition, a glimmer of something deeper that passed between them. Lila felt the world around her fade away, leaving just the two of them suspended in a charged silence. "Lila," he said, his voice low and gravelly, as if he had been expecting her all along. The way he said her name sent a shiver down her spine, awakening emotions she had buried deep within. "Marco," she responded, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. "We need to talk." The tension in the air was palpable as the surrounding noise faded into the background, their conversation becoming a private storm amidst the chaos. Lila felt a mix of fear and exhilaration, knowing that what lay ahead could change everything. This was not just about confronting him, it was about confronting herself. "What do you want?" he asked, leaning back against the bar, his demeanor shifting from casual to guarded. There was a flicker of vulnerability in his eyes, a hint of the man beneath the Mafia boss facade. "I want the truth," she replied, her voice stronger now. "About everything. About us." Marco's expression hardened slightly, but there was a spark of curiosity in his gaze. "You think you're ready for that?" "I've been ready for a long time," she asserted, the conviction in her voice surprising even herself. "I need to know how you could let everything fall apart." As they stood there, the world around them faded, the weight of their shared history hanging heavily in the air. Lila felt the walls she had built around her heart begin to crack, the anger she had clung to for so long shifting into something more complex. This confrontation was not just about Marco, it was about her journey from victim to survivor, from anger to understanding. The stakes were higher than ever, and as they stood on the precipice of a revelation, Lila realized that the answers she sought could lead to more pain, but they could also lead to healing. In that moment, she understood that sometimes the person you despise the most can also hold the key to your redemption. The question lingered. Could she find the strength to forgive, or would the darkness of revenge consume her? With that thought echoing in her mind, Lila prepared to unveil the truth, knowing that the journey ahead would challenge everything she believed. In a world where shadows loomed large, she was ready to step into the light and confront the man who had once brought her to her knees. As she stood before Marco, the air thick with tension, she knew that the path to redemption was fraught with uncertainty, but it was a path she was willing to take. As the story unfolded, the audience would be drawn into the depths of their complex relationship, witnessing the struggles and triumphs that awaited. With the weight of their shared past on their shoulders, Lila and Marco were about to embark on a journey that would test their limits, challenge their beliefs, and ultimately reveal the true nature of love and redemption. Would they find the strength to confront their demons together, or would the shadows of their past tear them apart once again? The answers lay in the moments that followed, as the intricacies of their dark romance began to unravel, drawing viewers deeper into a narrative rich with emotion, conflict, and the possibility of healing. As the shadows of the city loomed larger, Lila Monroe found herself standing at a crossroads, grappling with the tumultuous emotions that threatened to consume her. Each day felt like a battle, a relentless struggle to reclaim her life from the clutches of fear and anger. The vibrant skyline that once inspired her now felt suffocating, the noise of the bustling streets a constant reminder of her past. Yet, amid the chaos, there was a flicker of determination igniting within her. She had spent the last few weeks piecing together the fragments of her life, surrounded by a tight-knit group of friends who had become her lifeline. They offered unwavering support and encouragement, urging her to confront the source of her pain, Marco Santoro. The notorious Mafia boss represented everything she despised, a man whose decisions had irrevocably altered the course of her life. Yet, as Leela delved deeper into her feelings, she couldn't shake the disquieting realization that their fates were intertwined in ways she could hardly comprehend. One evening, while sipping coffee at her favorite cafe, a cozy spot nestled between two towering skyscrapers, Leela's phone buzzed with a notification. A news alert flashed across her screen, detailing a recent incident involving Marco and his crew. The headline sent shivers down her spine: Mafia boss Marco Santoro's empire under siege. Leela's heart raced as she read the details, her mind racing with conflicting emotions. How could she feel a pang of concern for the man who had caused her so much anguish? "Are you okay?" her friend, Mia, asked, noticing the shift in Leela's demeanor. Mia leaned in, her brow furrowed with concern. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Leela forced a smile, trying to brush it off. "Just news about Marco. It's nothing." Mia raised an eyebrow, unconvinced. "It's not nothing if it's affecting you like this. You know you don't have to carry this weight alone, right?" Leela took a deep breath, the air thick with the aroma of coffee and pastries. "I know, there's so much anger inside me. I thought I could just forget and move on, but every time I hear his name, it's like a wound reopening." Mia reached across the table, squeezing Leela's hand. "You need to face him, Leela. You can't keep running from your past. You deserve closure." Closure. The word echoed in Leela's mind, haunting and yet tantalizing. Could she really confront Marco? The thought sent a thrill of fear through her, but it also ignited a flicker of hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, facing him would allow her to reclaim the narrative of her life. But how could she even begin to approach the man who had shattered her world? As days turned into weeks, Leela found herself drawn back to the underbelly of the city, the world she had tried so hard to escape. She frequented places where whispers of Marco's name danced on the lips of those around her. Bars, shadowy alleyways, and clandestine gatherings. Each visit was a stark reminder of the life she once sought to leave behind, but now it was also a necessary step toward confronting her past. One fateful night, as she stepped into a dimly lit bar, the atmosphere crackled with tension. The air was thick with an intoxicating mix of smoke and secrets. Leela's heart raced as she navigated through the crowd, her resolve hardening with each step. She spotted a group of men sitting at a corner table, their laughter echoing like a dark symphony. Among them was Marco, his presence commanding and magnetic, even from a distance. As she approached, Leela's breath caught in her throat. Memories flooded back, moments of pain, betrayal, and the haunting realization of how their lives had collided. But this time, she was not the scared girl who had once cowered in his shadow. She was determined, fueled by the desire for closure and the need to understand the man behind the facade. "Leela?" Marco's voice cut through the noise like a knife, his gaze locking onto hers with an intensity that sent shivers down her spine. "What are you doing here?" "I need to talk to you," she stated, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions raging within her. He regarded her with an expression she couldn't quite decipher. Was it curiosity, annoyance, or something deeper? "This isn't a good place for a conversation like that." "Maybe not, but it's the only place I could find you," Leela replied, her heart pounding. The bar was alive with chatter, but in that moment it felt like they were the only two people in the world. "I need answers, Marco. I need to know why." He glanced around, his expression shifting as if weighing the consequences of their encounter. "Not here. Come with me." Leela hesitated, but quickly made up her mind. This was her chance. She followed him through the crowded bar, her pulse racing, as he led her into a secluded back room. The atmosphere shifted, a palpable tension hanging in the air as the door clicked shut behind them. "Now, what do you want to know?" Marco asked, leaning against the wall, his arms crossed. There was a vulnerability in his tone that caught her off guard. "Why did you do it? Why did you let your life destroy mine?" Leela's voice trembled with pent-up anger, each word laced with the pain of betrayal. Marco's expression darkened, and for a moment, the mask slipped. "You don't understand. I never wanted that for you. I was trying to protect you." "Protect me?" Leela scoffed, disbelief flooding her voice. "You call that protection? You ruined everything I had, everything I believed in." He ran a hand through his hair, frustration etched on his face. "You think it was easy for me? I made choices to keep you safe, to keep us both safe. You don't know what I was dealing with, what I was trying to shield you from." "Shield me from what? Your world? The darkness that you thrive in?" Leela stepped closer, her heart racing. "You think I wanted to be a part of this?" Marco's gaze softened, a flicker of regret passing through his eyes. "No, I never wanted you in this life, but it was the only way I knew how to survive. You were my light, Leela. I didn't want to drag you into my darkness." The vulnerability in his voice struck a chord within her. She had spent so long resenting him, but now, faced with the raw honesty of his words, a part of her began to waver. "But at what cost? You took away my choice." For a moment, silence enveloped them, heavy with the weight of unspoken truths. Leela's heart ached as she searched Marco's eyes for a glimpse of the man she once knew, the man she had loved despite the chaos around them. They were both products of their circumstances, shaped by the choices they had made, and the scars they bore were not solely their own. "Leela," Marco finally spoke, his voice a low whisper, "I never meant to hurt you. I wanted to protect you from my world, but in doing so, I lost you. And now, I don't know how to fix it." The admission hung in the air, raw and powerful. Leela felt the walls she had built around her heart begin to crumble, revealing the vulnerability she had fought so hard to suppress. "I don't know if you can fix it, Marco, but I need to know if you're willing to try." The question lingered between them, a fragile thread of hope in the midst of their chaos. Leela's heart raced, torn between the desire for vengeance and the yearning for understanding. Could she truly forgive him? Could they find a way to navigate the darkness together? As the tension simmered, a sudden noise from outside the room shattered the moment. The sound of raised voices, the unmistakable echo of a confrontation. Leela's heart sank as she exchanged a glance with Marco, the urgency of the situation crashing down around them. "What's happening out there?" Marco's expression shifted instantly. "It's my men. We need to go." He moved toward the door, but Leela's heart raced for another reason. This was her moment, the turning point she had sought for so long. "Wait," she called out, stepping in front of him. "Before we leave, I need to know if you mean what you said. Are you willing to try?" Marco paused, those intense eyes searching hers. "I'll do whatever it takes to make this right." The promise hung in the air, a fragile thread binding their fates together once more. With that, they stepped into the chaos outside, ready to confront the shadows that sought to consume them both. Leela's heart raced as she followed Marco into the fray, their shared determination igniting a fire within her. She had not only come to confront the man who had haunted her past, but to reclaim her own narrative, one filled with the possibility of healing, redemption, and a future she had thought lost forever. As they faced the challenges ahead, Lila understood that their journey was just beginning, and together they would navigate the darkness that threatened to engulf them both. As Lila stepped into the chaotic streets alongside Marco, a myriad of emotions swirled within her. The sky hung low, heavy with the promise of rain, the air charged with an electric tension that mirrored her own heartbeat. She could feel the weight of the world pressing down on her shoulders, yet there was an undeniable spark igniting her resolve. This was not just about confronting Marco, it was about reclaiming her life and embracing the woman she had fought to become. The city around them buzzed with the vibrant pulse of life, but Lila felt like a ghost, haunting the fringes of a world she had long been a part of, yet now seemed foreign. Marco walked beside her, his presence a mix of comfort and trepidation. She glanced at him, catching the flicker of something unspoken in his eyes. Was it regret, longing, or perhaps a shared understanding of the chaos that had shaped their lives? The questions swirled, but she pushed them aside, focusing instead on the task at hand. They made their way to a seedy bar tucked away in a shadowy alley, a place where secrets were exchanged as readily as drinks. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with smoke and murmurs, the dim lighting casting long shadows on the walls. Lila's heart raced as they approached a group of men seated at a table, their laughter echoing ominously in the charged air. Marco's grip on her arm tightened slightly, a silent signal of solidarity. "Stay close," he murmured, his voice low and steady. Lila nodded, steeling herself as they approached the men. She recognized one of them, Vincent, a high-ranking member of Marco's organization. The sight of him sent a shiver down her spine, memories of her past flooding back unbidden. Marco had once been a formidable figure in this world, but tonight he was her ally, and together they would face the very demons that had haunted her for so long. "Marco," Vincent greeted, a smirk playing on his lips. "I didn't expect to see you back here." The casual tone belied the tension simmering beneath the surface. Lila could see the flicker of animosity between them, a history woven into the fabric of their shared experiences. But tonight, that history would serve as a backdrop to their confrontation. "I'm not here for a reunion," Marco replied, his voice steady. "I need information, and I need it now." Vincent leaned back, studying Lila with an unsettling intensity. "And who's this? Your new partner in crime?" Lila felt a flush rise to her cheeks, but she held Vincent's gaze, refusing to be intimidated. "I'm not a partner. I'm here to find out the truth." The room fell silent, tension thickening the air as everyone turned their attention to her. Marco shot her a sideways glance, a mixture of surprise and admiration flickering in his eyes. She could feel the weight of their scrutiny, but she pressed on, her voice steady. "I deserve to know what happened to me, and I won't back down until I get answers." Vincent chuckled, but there was no humor in it. "You think you can just waltz in here and demand answers? This isn't a game, sweetheart." "Then let's stop playing games," Lila challenged, her heart pounding with each word. "I want to know about the fire and about my brother." At the mention of her brother, the atmosphere shifted. Marco's expression hardened, and Lila felt the tension between them escalate. Vincent's smile faded, replaced by a calculating gaze. "You're treading on dangerous ground, girl. You have no idea what you're getting into." "I know more than you think," Lila shot back, her determination surging. "I know that your actions have consequences, and I want to hold you accountable." The silence that followed was deafening, punctuated only by the distant sound of traffic outside. Marco's presence beside her felt like an anchor, grounding her in this storm of uncertainty. He leaned closer, whispering, "Are you sure about this?" Lila met his gaze, the intensity of his eyes igniting a fierce resolve within her. "I have to be. I can't keep running from my past." Vincent's voice cut through the tension. "You're brave, I'll give you that. But bravery can get you killed in this world. You're playing with fire, and I suggest you back off before you get burned." The warning hung in the air, but Lila found herself unfazed. For too long, fear had dictated her life. She had walked on eggshells, hiding from the shadows of her past, but tonight she would confront them head-on. "Tell me what you know, Vincent," she demanded, her voice steady, "or I will make sure everyone knows exactly what you've done." Marco shifted beside her, a protective energy radiating from him. Lila could sense the shift in dynamics. They were no longer just two individuals confronting a common enemy. They were a team, united against the darkness that had intertwined their fates. Vincent studied her, gauging her resolve. "You really think you can take me down? You're just a girl with a vendetta." "I'm not just a girl," Lila replied, her voice unwavering. "I'm a survivor." The atmosphere crackled as Vincent's expression shifted, a flicker of respect mingling with disdain. "You've got guts, I'll give you that, but guts won't save you from the consequences of your choices." "Then let's see what those consequences are," Lila said, her heart racing with a mix of adrenaline and determination. "I'm not afraid anymore." With that declaration, she felt a surge of empowerment wash over her. She had spent far too long in the shadows, allowing her past to dictate her future. Tonight, she would confront her demons, and with Marco by her side, she felt an unshakable strength coursing through her veins. "Enough of this," Marco interjected, his voice firm. "We're not here to play games. We want to know about the fire, about my past, and how it connects to her brother. You owe us that much." Vincent's gaze flickered between them, weighing their words. "You really think you'll find answers here? This isn't a fairy tale. This is real life." "Then tell us the truth," Lila insisted, her voice piercing through the tension. "Or we'll find someone who will." The room fell silent again, the weight of her challenge hanging heavy in the air. Vincent leaned back, a thoughtful expression crossing his features. "All right," he said finally, his tone shifting. "But know this. Once you step into this world, there's no turning back. You'll be marked, a target. Are you ready for that?" "I've been marked for too long," Lila replied, her voice steady. "It's time to take control." The tension in the room shifted, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. Lila could feel the stakes rising, the air thick with the anticipation of what was to come. She was no longer just a victim, she was a force to be reckoned with, ready to confront her past and carve a new path forward. As Vincent began to speak, unraveling the tangled web of past alliances and betrayals, Lila's heart raced. Each revelation felt like a dagger to her heart, but she stood tall, determined to face the truth head-on. Marco's presence beside her was a steadying force, a reminder that she was not alone in this fight. The conversation deepened, delving into the shadows of their shared history, revealing secrets that had long lain dormant. Lila listened intently, piecing together the fragments of her past, her heart aching with each revelation. Marco's own pain surfaced as well, and amidst the darkness, a flicker of understanding began to blossom between them. As the night wore on, Lila found herself caught in a whirlwind of emotions. The weight of her past threatened to consume her, but with each piece of the puzzle falling into place, she felt a renewed sense of clarity. She was no longer just a victim of circumstance. She was a survivor, ready to confront the darkness that had shaped her life. And with Marco by her side, they would navigate the treacherous waters of their intertwined fates, searching for redemption in a world that had once sought to destroy them both. The stakes had never been higher, but as Lila looked into Marco's eyes, she felt an undeniable spark of hope. Together, they would face the shadows, uncover the truth, and reclaim their lives. The journey ahead would be fraught with danger, but Lila knew one thing for certain. She was ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. Lila stood at the precipice of a decision, the weight of her past and the uncertainty of her future colliding in a turbulent storm of emotions. The air was thick with tension as she and Marco faced each other in the dimly lit warehouse, the remnants of their shared history hanging heavily between them. She could still feel the remnants of anger pulsing through her veins, but now it was intermingled with something else, an understanding that had begun to take root in her heart. "Why, Marco?" she finally asked, her voice steady despite the chaos swirling inside her. "Why did you let it come to this?" His eyes darkened, shadows of regret flickering across his face. "I can't change what happened, Leela. I can't erase the pain I caused you, but I can't pretend it doesn't haunt me every waking moment," he replied, his words raw and laced with vulnerability. Leela took a step closer, her heart pounding in her chest. She remembered the girl she used to be, the one who had trusted him, who had believed in the good that she thought was buried beneath his hardened exterior. Now, all that remained was a fractured reflection of that trust. But something in his tone sparked a flicker of hope. Perhaps there was still a chance for redemption. "Haunt you?" she echoed, incredulously. "You think that's enough? You think feeling guilty makes it okay?" Marco's gaze fell to the ground, and for a moment the silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken truths. The city outside continued to pulse with life, oblivious to the storm brewing within the four walls of the warehouse. Lila could feel the anger rising again, but she fought to keep it at bay. Anger had been her companion for too long, but now she needed to find a different path. "Look at what you've built," she said, her voice softer now. "You've created a world of fear and violence. You can't just walk away from that. You need to take responsibility for your actions." "I know," he admitted, finally meeting her gaze. "But I've been trapped in this world for so long, Lila. I don't know how to break free from it. I thought I could control it, but it's consuming me." His confession resonated with her, and Lila realized that in many ways they were both prisoners of their pasts. While he had forged a life of darkness, she had been shackled by her pain. But now she was ready to reclaim her narrative, and perhaps, just perhaps, he could do the same. "What if we worked together?" she proposed, surprising even herself with the words. "What if we used our experiences to change things, to fight against the darkness instead of being consumed by it?" Marco's eyes widened, a mix of disbelief and hope flickering across his face. "You'd really consider that? After everything?" Lila took a deep breath, steeling her resolve. "Yes, because I refuse to let my life be defined by the choices you made. I want to take back my power, and if it means confronting the shadows together, then so be it." A flicker of admiration sparked in Marco's eyes. "You're stronger than I ever gave you credit for," he said, his voice low and filled with respect. "But it won't be easy. We'll face enemies on all sides, and we can't trust anyone." "I'm ready for that," she replied, determination surging through her. "I won't let fear dictate my life any longer. I want to show others that they can rise above their pasts too." As they stood in that dimly lit space, the air thick with possibilities, Lila felt a sense of purpose filling the void that had long plagued her. She realized that forgiveness didn't mean absolving him of his sins. It meant liberating herself from the chains of resentment. Marco had been the catalyst for her pain, but he could also become a partner in her journey toward healing. "Then we start today," Marco said, a newfound fire igniting in his eyes. "We expose the truth, dismantle the empire I built, and show the world that we're more than our pasts." With those words, Lila felt a sense of solidarity forming between them. They were no longer simply adversaries caught in a web of hatred and hurt. They were allies, bound by their desire for redemption. The road ahead would be perilous, but together they could navigate the treacherous waters of their intertwined fates. As they left the warehouse, Lila felt the weight of her past begin to lift, replaced by the promise of a future she could shape. The city outside was alive with energy, a stark contrast to the darkness they had just faced. And as they stepped into the bustling streets, she took a deep breath, feeling the cool air fill her lungs. "Are you ready for this?" Marco asked, glancing at her with an intensity that sent shivers down her spine. Lila smiled, a mixture of courage and excitement bubbling within her. More than ever. In the days that followed, they began to forge a new path. Lila reached out to those who had been affected by Marco's actions, sharing her story and listening to theirs. She quickly became a beacon of hope, encouraging others to reclaim their narratives. Marco, on the other hand, began dismantling his empire from within, exposing the corruption and violence that had taken root in the organization he once led. Every evening, they would meet to strategize, sharing their fears and dreams. Lila found herself drawn to Marco's passion and determination, and in return, he became captivated by her resilience. Their relationship evolved, no longer defined by hatred but rather by mutual respect and shared goals. They were two broken souls seeking solace in each other's company, learning to navigate the complexities of their feelings amidst the chaos of their lives. But the journey was not without its challenges. As they began to make waves in the criminal underworld, enemies emerged from the shadows, threatening to undo everything they had worked for. Lila felt the familiar twinge of fear creeping back into her heart, but she fought to push it aside. She had come too far to let it consume her again. One fateful night, as they were preparing to expose a major drug operation, they received a tip-off that a rival gang was aware of their plans. The tension in the air was palpable, and Lila could feel her pulse quickening as they gathered their team. Marco's jaw was set, his eyes darkened with determination. "We need to move fast," he urged, glancing at Lila. "We can't let them stop us." Lila nodded, the fire of determination igniting within her. "We do this together. We've come too far to back down now." As they executed their plan, adrenaline coursed through Lila's veins. She felt alive, a stark contrast to the passive existence she had lived for so long. With Marco by her side, she was no longer a victim. She was a warrior, ready to face whatever came their way. The operation unfolded with precision, each step meticulously planned. But as they neared the final confrontation, the unexpected happened. An ambush was waiting for them, and chaos erupted around them. Gunfire erupted, shattering the night's silence, and Lila found herself ducking for cover, her heart racing as she searched for Marco. "Lila!" he shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Get to safety." But she couldn't abandon him. The bond they had forged was too strong, and she would not leave him behind. With renewed determination, she fought through the chaos, dodging bullets and debris, until she found him cornered, facing down several armed men. "Stay behind me," Marco commanded, but Lila refused to cower. She moved beside him, adrenaline fueling her courage. "Together," she insisted, her voice unwavering. "We can do this together." In that moment, they became an unstoppable force, each of them covering the other as they fought against their attackers. Lila felt a surge of power as she faced the danger head-on, no longer shackled by her past. Marco, too, fought with a ferocity she had never seen before, driven by a desire to protect not just himself, but the future they were building together. As the dust settled, the ambush was thwarted, but not without consequences. Lila felt the sting of a bullet graze her arm, a sharp reminder of the darkness that still lurked in the shadows. Marco's eyes widened in panic as he rushed to her side. "Lila, are you okay?" he asked, concern etched on his face. "I'm fine," she replied, though she could feel the warmth of blood seeping through her shirt. "We have to keep going." "Not until you're safe," he insisted, wrapping his arm around her waist and helping her stand. "I won't let you get hurt again." In that moment, Lila understood the depth of their connection. The man who had once caused her pain was now her protector, and she was determined to fight beside him. They had both changed, transformed by their shared experiences, and together they could forge a new path. As they made their way out of the chaos, Lila felt a sense of clarity wash over her. The darkness that had once threatened to consume her was now a part of her story, a chapter that had shaped her into the woman she had become. And with Marco by her side, they would continue to fight against the shadows, turning their pain into purpose. In the aftermath of their confrontation, Leela and Marco emerged as champions for those who had been silenced by fear. They began to work tirelessly, advocating for change and healing within their community. Leela found herself connecting with others who had faced similar struggles, and together they created a support network that empowered survivors to reclaim their voices. As the months passed, Leela began to heal not only physically but emotionally as well. The scars of her past would always remain, but they no longer defined her. She had transformed her pain into a source of strength, and with Marco beside her, she felt invincible. One evening, as they walked through the city they had fought so hard to reclaim, Marco turned to her, his expression filled with sincerity. "You've changed my life, Leela. I never thought I could find redemption, but you showed me that it was possible." Leela smiled, her heart swimming with gratitude. "And you've given me my life back. Together, we've transformed our pain into something beautiful." They stopped at a rooftop overlooking the city, the skyline illuminated by the soft glow of streetlights. Leela felt a sense of peace settle within her as she watched the bustling streets below, realizing that they had not only fought for themselves, but for others who had been trapped in darkness. "Do you think we'll ever be free of our pasts?" Marco asked quietly, his gaze fixed on the horizon. Leela turned to him, her eyes glimmering with hope. "I think we'll always carry our pasts with us, but that doesn't mean we can't create a brighter future. We can use our experiences to inspire change, to help others find their way." Marco nodded, a newfound understanding reflected in his eyes. "Then let's continue to fight together, for ourselves and for everyone who needs us." In that moment, Leela realized that their journey was far from over. They had faced the darkness and emerged stronger, but the path ahead would still be filled with challenges. Yet, she felt a sense of certainty wash over her. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the city, Leela and Marco stood hand in hand, ready to embrace the future they would create together. The shadows of their pasts no longer held power over them. Instead, they had become allies in the fight for redemption and healing. With each step they took, they forged a new legacy, one defined not by pain, but by strength, resilience, and an unwavering belief in the possibility of love amidst darkness. Their story was a testament to the power of forgiveness and the transformative nature of human connection. And as the stars began to twinkle above, Leela knew that the journey ahead would be filled with both challenges and triumphs. With Marco by her side, she felt ready to embrace whatever came next, knowing that together they could conquer the shadows and create a future worth fighting for. As the night enveloped the city, their hearts beat in unison, a promise of a new beginning woven into the fabric of their intertwined fates. The journey of healing, love, and redemption had only just begun.